the person who I think was most impressive to me in the postgame, and who I think is a future captain of this team, probably sooner rather than later, was Jake Davis. Because this dude is so poised, so well-spoken, so important in the midfield. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of No Other Pod. I'm Jimmy, along with my good buddy, Daniel Kooser. And Dan, we have officially the first victory pod of the 2025 season for Sporting Kansas City.
Finger guns. Everyone break out the De Jong finger guns, baby. This man is scoring goals, and he's having a good time doing it. This is crazy. I'm excited to be here. This is more fun than anything we've ever done in 2025. So this is awesome.
It was a very, very fun game for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is we got our first win of the season, but it also came against St. Louis. There was a special ceremony at halftime for Tia Amelia. Taylor Swift may or may not have been at the game, but almost certainly probably not. So it was a wild time at Children's Mercy Park on Saturday night.
You know what? It's identity theft. How can you in good conscience walk around looking like the most popular person in the world and how do you sleep at night? That's what I want to know. How could you trick people? You're a trickster.
So here's the thing. It was coming out of halftime and they're playing a Taylor Swift song and I'm sitting there, I'm kind of bopping along. I'm like, okay, I'm bopping. It was cold. I was, moving, trying to stay warm.
Sure.
Because it's first game without Peter at St. Louis. Every Kansas City media person showed up to the game because they did. So those of us who are there for many of the games sometimes get booted out to the outside seating when TV shows.
A little saltiness here. There's a little bit of bitterness. What is happening?
So I'm sitting there outside and they're playing the song and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then they show a lady on TV that's blonde hair, bright red lips, bangs and everything. And like all the 10-year-old girls in the South Stand start screaming. And I'm sitting there and she's on the screen for probably 10 seconds. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's not Taylor Swift. Like it looks.
Did she acknowledge it?
She kind of like smiled. Yeah. But like, I was like it looks enough like Taylor Swift, but I was like, something's wrong. That's like Uncanny Valley Temu Taylor Swift. Like it's not quite Taylor Swift. And so I'm like
Temu
100% convinced in that moment that it's a lookalike. And then I keep, I'm looking on social trying to see if there's anybody talking about it. And like, there's no pictures anywhere. So I'm like, okay, if this was the real Taylor Swift, there'd be people posting photos everywhere. Well, then Sunday morning, we're recording this on Sunday. Sunday morning, I see a couple of like blurry photos from a distance where someone's like, Taylor Swift was at the game. And it kind of reminded me of like the hunt for Bigfoot, where it's like, someone's like, I got a picture of Bigfoot, but it's like blurry and grainy and he's like half covered up by a tree. And like one of these, it's like a water bottle's covering half of her face and it zoomed in at like 100 times. But then there was another one that looked a little bit more convincing. And I was like, am I going crazy? Like, maybe it is Taylor Swift. So I text you and I'm like, was she at this game? Like, what is happening? I'm starting to think I'm the crazy one and she was there. Come to find out, I've been told from a couple very reliable sources, and this makes a lot more sense. Taylor Swift was not at this song.
Well, yes, because you would know, because she has a massive amount of crazy fans that would absolutely have posted that. Right. Like it would have been out there everywhere. When you sent that to me, I was like, stop. And I told Marissa, and she was instantly like, what?
Because it looks enough like her from those photos.
To which I say, ma'am, how do you sleep at night? Looking like that. We're gonna go do lookalike contests. We got Jim Curtin over here and Gomez Adams over here.
Well, I've also since learned from a coworker that I guess there is a lady who I think lives in Olathe who just gets hired out as a Taylor Swift lookalike and like goes to like little girls' birthday parties. And like,
that's insane.
I think these little girls think Taylor Swift comes to their house and shows up at their birthday party.
Can you imagine being on that level where little princess parties where you show up as a princess to take pictures because you look like freaking Rapunzel or something?
Yeah.
you look like the hottest star in the world, and you're going to these parties. Like I couldn't even. Can you imagine any other actor performer like, hey man, yeah, I go to parties like Ryan Reynolds. Like that's crazy to think about.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is like, there's like Elvis impersonators, but also Elvis has been dead for a long time. So like, there's no question of like, is this really Elvis or not? And so it was.
Is this really Elvis who's marrying me at the chapel?
Allegedly dead. Our producer wants us to make sure we get in there. He's Elvis allegedly dead. He might be hanging out.
Didn't he sneeze on the toilet or something?
Something like that.
You ever sneeze on the toilet?
I don't know if I have.
Did it during the bidet this morning. I was like, oh God, that's a lot of information.
Your body doesn't know how to react.
I didn't know.
Things are coming out, things are coming in.
Stuff's coming in. It happened this morning. I was like, that's never happened before. I got to share that on the podcast today.
But it was funny. And yeah.
Solotushy.com/no-other 10% off.
There you go. By all indications, Taylor Swift was not at this soccer game, because I was like, first off, why is she in Kansas City in the beginning of April? I don't even know if Travis is here right now. He might be God knows where. Why is she at a game without Travis? Not that she can't do stuff on her own, but why would she come to, of all things, a Sporting Kansas City game and not a KC Current game with her friend Brittany Mahomes? Why would she come to the game where it's 40 degrees outside? Like, there are so many things where it's like,
Tim Millions retiring, bro. It's important.
That's right. And she hates St. Louis, from what I've been told. But also, like, you see, like, when she goes to the Chiefs games, I know there's a lot more media there, but like, she's going in, she's making an entrance. There's fans that see her or whatnot. It's not like it's easy to get into Children's Mercy Park without people seeing you.
Like, there's you do that. You sneak in a pretzel machine or something.
There's no conspicuous way to get into that stadium.
Yeah.
So it just, I've since seen photos that make it a lot more obvious that it's not her.
Yeah.
What a wild time, man.
I can't believe we're even talking about it. That's so.
I had people. I mean, people were reaching out to me. They're like, "Did you see her? Was she there?" And I was like, "I don't think it's her." And then I was like, "Now I'm going crazy. Maybe it is her." And then I'm fully back after talking to people again. Like, it's not her.
I want to be someone like that. Did you see Dan? Was he there? What was he wearing?
I did. Shout out to John Dale, one of our listener, also the announcer for Sporting.
I'm familiar with John Dale. I know that now.
He's listening. He said, "Hey, what's up?" He wanted to check up on you, see how you were doing before the game. So
what a good dude, man. John, thanks, man. No, I'm doing good, man. I was at Home Depot today with my parents and my wife, and my mom was like, I could hear her behind me making fun of me, and I was like, I wish you wouldn't. She's like, look at his penguin walk, like he's an excited child in a candy store. And I said, I have all but eliminated this penguin walk. Okay, I'm getting better, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
My Apple Watch thinks I'm going to fall down soon. I'm like, shut up, Apple. Samsung would never disgrace me like this.
That was funny when you sent me the text of like Apple's concerned about your stability.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm doing my best here, man. Okay, I'm doing my best. I'm not going to fall, and if I do, I could really break something.
Well, I'm glad you're doing better, and thank you.
Life is good,
John, for checking up on Dan. And appreciate you.
The voice of the stadium, right?
I believe so.
He's that person you hear. Like, that's a good stadium voice, dude. John's got it. Does he talk like that in person?
I mean, you can tell it's him
a little bit. Hello, Jimmy. How's Dan doing? And you're like, whoa.
It's not quite like I imagine it's like an actor. Like, you turn it on when you're on stage a little bit, but but you're still that person when you're off.
You're a version of it, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
But before the game even started, I think, we'd be remiss. We talked last week about, obviously, the big news of the week was Peter Vermes being fired as manager and chief soccer officer of Sporting Kansas City.
Biggest storyline of the week.
Yep. Well, second after our tag team championship, but
third after the Taylor Swift lookalike.
That's true. So really, I mean, look, Peter's falling down the ranks the more this week goes on.
Let me ask just real quick before you get into this. Do you think Peter watched the game?
Probably.
Had to have, right? Like, you're curious. You love these guys. You love this organization. Carrie's your boy. You're going to watch to see how it goes, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you don't go work somewhere for 20 years after then having played there for however many years before then, And even though it ended the way obviously he wouldn't have wanted to end, like he still cares about the players, he still cares about the staff. I'm sure he wanted to see how Carey's doing. Like
it would be weird. Like what it'd be like, wow, I should be in the stadium, and if I'm not coaching, I should still be there.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen a game from my couch, you know?
It was funny along those lines. I think it was Ali Trost Martin actually asked at the end of the press conference via Zoom if Carey's routine was different, because he's been doing this for so many years, and he talked about how he's like not just all week but today on game day he goes, I keep parking in the wrong spot because there's a coach's parking spot that's got my name on it now, and he goes, and I'm not used to parking there, I keep parking in the wrong spot, and then realizing, oh, that's I'm supposed to park there now. Like that's
you said Ali was there?
She wasn't in person. She popped in on the Zoom from
Gotcha.
New York City, I believe, and
nice.
asked some questions. So
cool.
But before this game even started, Mike Illig, principal owner of Sporting Kansas City, had a press conference earlier in the week, and it's a long press conference. I'm not going to get into nearly everything he said.
20 minutes or so.
Go watch it. Yeah. But one thing I did want to mention that he was quoted as saying is, he mentions, I've done 4 deals with Carey now. It's always been understood between he and I that if anything ever happens to Peter, he would get a chance at the interim job. That being said, he understands that we're going to run a global search alongside him. He'll be thrown into the mix. Here's the part, editor's emphasis, that I want to highlight. I've told him it's his job to lose. We've never been in this situation before. Peter's all we've known. We've been in the business for 20 years, and here we are with our first head coaching change. I'm learning through the process. I want to take my time, get it right, and I want to see what's out there.
Maybe Peter, or maybe Carey's got some different tricks that he hasn't been able to express himself, and now he can really do that. I didn't really see that in the first half. It all kind of looked about the same.
Sure.
But I do his to lose though. Like that feels like a lot of pressure, and I'm sure Carey feels it, man. It's a weird time.
That's the part that was interesting to me, and I wanted to get your reaction, because I think I was surprised that Mike Illig was so blunt as to say this is Carey's job to lose, because I think a lot of the analysis around this opportunity, and even some commentary from people outside of the organization or from the league or whatnot, was Sporting needs to look like outside the umbrella of Peter Vermes. Sporting needs to look outside of the organization, like find someone new and fresh to bring in. So it was interesting to me, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on what do you think about Illig saying this is Carey's job to lose. Now, caveat, I guess he does also say we're going to see what's out there, but it seems like Carey's the clear front runner.
But it also goes back to what he said. He's like, never had to do this before. Like, this is new. Like you kind of know it's inevitable, because like something will happen. God forbid they get old and retire or pass away or some shit. You know what I mean? But like it's to the point where like this is new, dude. And you could tell Illig in the press conference, he was a little unsure of himself at times. Not that I would be sure of myself.
Sure.
In no way am I saying like I would be better. I don't know who would be better, but it's just an unprecedented thing to have to do, to sit in a room full of media, having no experience doing that kind of conversation. And there were questions that came at him, and he would kind of try to gather his thoughts and kind of stammer a couple times.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for him a little bit. I was like, this is tough, dude.
Yeah.
And all you can do is try to shed positivity and urge people to come out to see the game. And you're not going to see a new team, but it's a new coach. So maybe something looks new and different. There's no pressure on Carey here. He's in the team. He's running things now. It's his show. All he can do is put together victories. And if he does that, then yeah, it's his job to not lose. Like maybe they do. Maybe they're like, okay, this global search, we're gonna stick with Carey for a bit. Things are working.
It is interesting. I mean, and we're gonna take our break here in just a few seconds, and then we'll
don't tell people about the break. Breaks are sporadic.
We'll get to the game much more after that. But I just think, if Carey's the right man for the job, I want Carey to get the job. If somebody else is the right man for the job, I want somebody else to get the job. And I don't think Mike Illig meant to say we're going to be, lazy or whatever and just give it to Carey because he's here. I think anytime you have an interim manager take over, they have a leg up because they are put on display to show how are you going to actually manage this team now instead of a hypothetical of somebody else. I just think, I do think there's value in potentially bringing in somebody who's completely from the outside and they can bring in totally fresh ideas. I think back to when, I was in college at USC out in California. I was there when Pete Carroll left. Pete Carroll was there for 2 seasons, and then he left to go to the Seattle Seahawks when I was there. And Pete Carroll, or USC, spent the next, 10, 12 years, honestly, chasing the ghost of Pete Carroll. They hire Lane Kiffin, they hire Steve Sarkisian, and they hire Clay Helton, and they hire people that are all under Pete Carroll and from his tree, and it never worked really until they finally went separate and got Lincoln Riley, and jury's out. But we'll see. So I don't want Sporting to make the same mistake of okay, Peter worked for so long, even though it didn't work at the end. Let's see if we can catch lightning in a bottle again, as opposed to doing a whole search. But we'll see. I think they'll do what's right ultimately. Hopefully, we'll see.
Whatever it is, I'm just excited to talk about a victory with you today.
Yeah. Well, let's take our break and we'll come back and we'll talk victory. So we'll be right back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Are you ready to win real money this March? Struggling to choose which team will pull off an upset? Forget about the teams. All you need to focus on are player stats to rack up big cash prizes with DraftKings Pick 6. And when it comes to the massive payouts, DraftKings dunks over all the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. Track your picks for a shot to win huge cash prizes. It's as simple as that. All you have to do is pick which players you think will score, rebound, get assists, and fill up the stat sheet, and you can win. It's that easy. So turn your college basketball knowledge into cash today. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly with just a $5 entry. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited, 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promo.
Buddy, I had a couple improv comedy shows I had to perform in this weekend, and I gotta tell you, you never realize how physical you are in those things until you cannot be as physical as you want to be.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I'm at these days, dude. I could not. I was just very frustrated and had to just rely on witty comments and stuff instead of physical humor.
Yeah.
All can't crawl, none of that bullshit. It was weird.
Well, but did the show go well?
Oh, yeah. Shows are knocking it out of the park. One thing about improv, it's not you're not the star of the show. It's how well can you set up your person.
Right.
Your people. You know what I mean? Make them look good and they'll make you look good. So
I'm sure it was good to be back out on the stage in some capacity.
It was cool. Yeah. People are very aware of my situation. So, but hey, we get to talk about 3 points for the first time in how long?
More than 200 days.
200 days. And it feels so good. Buddy, we're recording on a Sunday. I watched this game this morning at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Had to miss it live last night. And boy, am I sorry, because I missed a win. I missed skirmishes. I missed brace, almost a hat trick time or two. And I missed Taylor Swift. It was just the whole thing.
Oh. You did. It was, I mean, I think there were 529 official St. Louis supporters who came like as part of like that supporters block that they're allotted. So that's more than anybody else shows up with.
Hey, our seats over there, we would have been surrounded, and I'm glad we were able to sell those. You know,
it was probably closer to 800 to 1,000 St. Louis fans total throughout the stadium because obviously they get their official allotment and then others can buy tickets separately. But they marked in, they're loud as always, and I was very curious to see what the atmosphere of this game would be, knowing that, okay, Peter's gone. It's St. Louis. There's been no wins. Like, there was this whole, like, competing factors of this game should be a sellout, but it also might not be because of how the team's been doing. And it was, I didn't see what the official capacity that was announced was. It certainly wasn't a sellout, or it didn't look like a sellout, but it felt like a mostly full stadium. It was, you saw some empty seats, but the Cauldron seemed a little bit more alive than they had been. Obviously St. Louis, they always show up and they're loud, but it was a good atmosphere from the get-go. And we knew that Tim Melia was going to be honored at halftime, which was awesome. He was there with his family. So that was really cool. In terms of lineup, we knew St. Louis was coming into this game dealing with some injuries. Obviously, Roman Berkey, their goalkeeper, is out with a broken hand that he suffered in training a few weeks ago. And a couple of the other key guys are out. But Sporting, once again, we saw Daniel Shallowy in the starting lineup. He was the captain in there instead of Eric Tommy. And we saw a midfield that I found really interesting. The starting midfield trio of Manu Garcia, Jake Davis, and Jacob Bartlett instead of Nemanja Radia. So
Jake's in there, baby. Jacob Bartlett can't help but get yellows like Jake Davis. They're like, hey, no, I'm getting a yellow this time.
Jake squared. Now, okay, I'm glad you brought up the yellow for Bartlett because I thought Tori Penso did a very good job for the vast majority of this game. I thought she was a fine referee, but I do think she messed up, and I don't think Jacob Bartlett deserved that yellow because, one, I'm not sure he actually kicked the ball away. I think a St. Louis player kicked it off him, and then it bounced off him, and she just saw out of the corner of her eye that she thought it was time wasting. But also, St. Louis had been warned like 3 times for time wasting before then for kicking the ball away and didn't get a yellow. So I was kind of mad about that. But overall,
when that's supposed to be a consistent call.
Right.
If you kick the ball away, that's a yellow. That has been that was started last year, right?
Yes.
What the fuck?
By the book.
How come we aren't
to be no warning? This, if you kick the ball away, it's yellow.
Right. So what is going on? Why are referees just scared to do what you're supposed to do?
I don't know. That was the only thing that bothered me. Now, speaking of the referees, though, I do want to mention, I found this out after the game from Kurt. It was the same referee crew that officiated the Women's World Cup final because both the head referee and both ARs were women. So it was a really good group. I think overall they did a really good job. But just a fun fact.
Interesting.
So there you go. But I kind of
means they're not familiar with Major League Soccer rules.
Well,
you're telling me.
No, I mean, they're still part of like pro referees. Like they right. Still, like his pro sends, like whenever there's a World Cup, there are referees that come from all over different federations. So Tori Pence has been an MLS referee before, but she also got to do the Women's World Cup.
Up on the yellow card when you kick a ball away. Just a little brush up. We all do it at work. Get a little compliance training, you know?
She's a lot better than her husband. Chris Hunt is always pissing me off when he's calling our games.
She's a lot better than her husband. Story of my life, bro.
I kind of liked this starting lineup. I thought, that midfield trio was good. I thought Jansen Miller and Joaquin Fernandez did a serviceable job as a center back pairing.
Jansen Miller, I salute you, sir. We're gonna have a conversation, my man, because you're one of us.
That dude. This team needs somebody to ingratiate themselves as a fan favorite the way that Russell did.
Why shouldn't it be a St. Louis native?
Why not Jansen Miller?
What do you do? What do you do at the end of the game? Do you do this shit?
I thought he
shushed him.
I thought he shushed him.
He might have shushed him.
And the best part about it was Postgame was running over to take it. This man, Jansen Miller, waved Postgame off. He said, I got this. Clear out. I'm calling my shot. And then trotted over and then pushed.
Finger to lip.
100 plus St. Louis fans.
Ooh, there were some middle fingers going on. People did not like it. Bald man Klaus got over there trying to talk to him. Klaus, it's time to let the hair go, bro. It's looking pretty rough up there.
There was a bald chant from Cauldron about Klaus. Yeah, they pulled that one out from the Des Moines game. And
I do hate to like make fun of bald people. You know, there's issues, but like if it's going like that, just get rid of it, dude. You got one hell of a beard, a hell of a face for a beard. Do the bald with the beard. Like, I think that's dope.
Yeah, it's he heard about it from the Cauldron, but yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Jansen. But first half, there wasn't really anything to write home about. St. Louis had one clear shot. Really, it was Conrad Wallem who was playing up top with Joao Klaus. He sent one off the inside of the post from the right side, right in front of the Cauldron, that St. Louis fans honestly thought went in for like 30 seconds. They were just celebrating, and it clearly didn't go in. That was really the biggest threat in the first half. It was neither team looked great, but St. Louis was probably a little bit better in the first half, but not a ton to write home about. So you go into the half, it's 0-0. It really kind of felt to me like Sporting was kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do they want to play under Carey? It didn't feel a ton different from Peter, but it just felt like at times they were maybe trying to be a little bit more direct, just weren't quite getting there yet. But I don't know. Did you notice anything much different in the first half?
I mean, no, it was kind of boring. And like I told you, I said, I'm not able to watch live tonight. Feel free to text me thoughts or whatever. You're not going to spoil nothing because I get enough Twitter alerts telling me goals and yellow cards and substitutions anyway. So like, I don't turn those off.
And then you heard nothing for like an hour and a half.
Didn't get much from you. And you were like, yeah, man, first half's pretty dumb. Even at the end of the game, you were like, just watch the second half. And I was like, well, I'm going to watch the whole game. I'm very OCD like that. Like I'm going to watch the whole game. So, yeah. And I did. And I had a good time.
Yeah. First half wasn't great, but, second half they come out. Taylor Swift may or may not be there. Tim Ilya got his standing ovation from the crowd. He made the rounds. Really cool to see Tim and his family there. He more than deserves the honor he got. And yeah, in the second half, Sporting looked better. And what's interesting, Kerry Zavagnin said, the spirit of the guys, they were not going to give in. It's the first time in a while that I heard at halftime, after what was a pretty tight first half, walking out of the locker room and saying, "We're not losing tonight." That's a big quote that the coach is saying. That's the first time in a while I've heard the team say in a tie game at halftime, "We're not losing tonight."
The coach, Kerry, said that in the locker room?
Kerry said it was the first time he heard from the players coming out to start the second half, them saying, "We're not losing tonight."
Dude, I mean, there's something, stuff has changed. The universe is different now. I mean, Peter Vermes, dude, it's like he was our anchor being. And like, it's something has changed now. It feels so different. And part of me's sad because change can be sad.
Right.
But change can also be exciting. Like he was never going to be here forever.
Right.
And if the players get pumped up and like use this as a moment, sometimes all it takes is a moment, dude. Sometimes it takes a freaking trip to the cabin. Remember when they went to the cabin? They all swang their willies around every time they scored a goal. You remember their little dance, and we're like, what happened at that cabin?
And they're like, we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about the cabin. That's the first rule of the cabin. But this could be our cabin, bro. You know, it just makes sense.
It does feel like,
you know, the dance I'm talking about.
I remember it. I forgot about it until you mentioned it, but I do remember it. It does feel like, if you're a fan of watching the Loki series on Marvel, it does feel like, you know, we were on the sacred timeline, and then like Peter got pruned, and we've branched off now into a separate timeline.
It's a different timeline. But I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and we don't know where it's going to go, but it's broken off, and clearly
now Peter's in the void, bro.
Reality has altered because we're winning games again.
Go get him.
But the first, 71st minute, it's 0-0. Sporting's starting to look like we're threatening. And I've talked about it with other people. I think I've talked about it with you too. The thing for me that's been so frustrating about Sporting up until really this sequence is everything seems like it's happening so slow. They get the ball, they receive the ball, they pause, they look around, they decide, where do I want to pass the ball? Then they pass the ball, and oftentimes it's horizontally or backwards. Whereas if you watch the current, and they're obviously their chemistry, they've been together much longer, they just trust and know where each other are going to be, and the ball is constantly moving. They're not gathering it and thinking. It's just, bing, bang, boom, whipping around.
They just know each other. I wish we knew that. I wish we knew each other.
And then 71st minute for Sporting Kansas City. This is really the first time I've seen this happen. Jacob Bartlett sends the ball to Radia. Radia, who, look, I'll be the first to admit, I've criticized Radia not looking up the field, looking sideways, looking horizontal.
Yeah.
Maybe he listens to the podcast because he suddenly looked up the field, found Manu Garcia, who then lays the ball off to Dejan Jovic. And this is a striker's finish. This is the type of finish that we pay, $4 million in a transfer fee for, because he's going away from goal. It's perfectly weighted by Manu Garcia. Jovic doesn't try to tap it back toward goal again. He just takes it one time, falling away from goal off of his right foot, slides it into the bottom left corner. It's a quality finish. And then he just goes and sits in the cauldron.
Just sits down. Just lets them hang their nasty, stinky beer bodies all of. No, he just sits there and just takes all the love. Have you seen a happier man? Like this, the media, he's all over the marketing today now, like recaps and shit. He's so happy. Dimples galore, little wrinkles. Like, I just want to give a little squeeze. But I also need to point out, we totally skipped over in the first half how we could have been down 2-0. Like in the 15th and 16th minutes consecutively, they almost scored.
Yeah.
Each of those minutes, we're talking like one was off the post and another one was just wide or over the bar or something. It was crazy. So I was like, oh boy, if I was watching live, I would have been like, we're in trouble.
It was the same guy. It was Wallem. He had the first one off the post that we mentioned.
With the good hair?
I forgot. Yeah, you're right. Then no later, he sent one over the bar, and it was very close. But Jovic, it's up 1-0 in the 70th minute. That's great. Sporting's holding on. We're thinking, can we see this one out? 80th minute. Joaquin Fernandez is trying to come, or right before the 80th minute. Let's see. I'm looking at the timeline here. I'm trying to figure out exactly when this happened. So, yeah, it was probably about the 80th minute where the substitution tried to occur. I don't know what they said on the broadcast. We were very confused in the stadium, but there was a double sub. It was the 79th minute because Eric Tommy was trying to come on at the same time. So 79th minute, Eric Tommy comes in for Shapi Suleimanov, and Danny Rosero was supposed to come in for Joaquin Fernandez. Then there's a conversation. The fourth official's got the substitution card. He's talking to Kerry Zavagnin. He's holding Fernandez on the field. Like, all this is happening. Eventually, Fernandez comes off. Rosero goes on. And then they send Rosero back off the field, and they hold him off for a long time. It was almost like 2 full minutes of play. And we were like, what is going on? Ultimately, we got clarity that Rosero was held off because Fernandez took too long to get off the field, which is a new substitution rule. You have to come off soon. But Fernandez took a long time to come off the field because there was clearly confusion with the substitution card, which Kerry took responsibility for after the game, and he said it's not going to happen again. It just was filled out wrong, I think. But while Sporting was playing down a man for like a solid 2 minutes, Nemanja Radia had one of the greatest tackles I've ever seen that was not a foul, where he just I forget who it was on St. Louis, but they had a breakaway, and Radia chases the team down. It was kind of in the middle of the field, I thought.
Oh, okay.
He slides from behind, pickpockets the ball. St. Louis is screaming for a foul. You look at the replay. This man perfectly got the ball and did not touch a single hair on the St. Louis player's head.
He got cheers from the crowd.
It was the most beautiful game-saving tackle I've seen in a long time.
It was. The crowd loved it too, man. And the announcers were like, "Oh my, he's getting some love from the crowd there." It was a really cool moment. The substitution thing, though, you mentioned Kerry. Like, he did say that. He said, our assistant coach put that in, but at the end of the day, that's my responsibility. So I take it, and won't happen again, but it could have hurt us. And it's like, damn, that's something so small like that. Who would have known?
Yeah.
And it's like, if there is going to be a hiccup with a new coach this week, I mean, God, you would have hated to see that big of a hiccup to have it hurt us, being a man down like that.
Yeah. And it's stuff like that you don't really think about, especially when you only have like 4 days to basically change everything. Because if Peter's the head coach and Kerry's second command, like, okay, everybody who's doing things like the sub card, that shifts when everybody's role starts to shift because Peter's no longer there. So I don't know who was responsible for filling out the sub card. Kerry took responsibility as the head coach, which he should have. But yeah, that was crazy. And then just to finish out and seal the game in the 87th minute, Dejan Joveljic again. I mean, Manu Garcia almost got a banger of a goal. It was set up by a beautiful little pass from Eric Tommy, just cuts right through two St. Louis players. Garcia off the post, but again, just a gorgeous bit of quality from Dejan Joveljic here. Off the volley, he lifts his leg up and just taps it home first time.
Not really a tap, though. He put some pace on. He put some power on it, and he had to. Like, it had to be on frame because the goalkeeper was getting right back up to come back at goal. And he tried. Goalkeeper tried, but god dang, dude. And then the little Joker celebration, and also the finger guns. Man, we love a finger bang, don't we? It's a great time.
It's not a phrase.
Yes, it is. Guns go bang, and if they're finger guns, it's a finger bang. Everyone
didn't think we'd hear we love a finger bang on the podcast.
Hey, we love it.
Game ends 2-0. And that's that. I mean, it was the loudest the stadium's been in a while. The Cauldron, 2 separate times, just started a straight up "fuck St. Louis" chant.
It's pretty loud. A lot of fingers are out, bro. You can't blur all those, Apple TV.
I don't know if you heard the chant on the broadcast, but I mean, it was not a PG night. So it was
nice, man. I had Chip. Chip was in the Cauldron too, man. He was talking to me all about it, telling me what a great time it was to be back there in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear Chip stuff, or do you want to take a break and then hear Chip stuff?
Let's take our break real quick. We'll come back. We'll hear Chip stuff, and then we got some post-game presser stuff to talk about. We'll take break number 2, and we'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Let me talk to you. We're here with the Chip shop. All right, we got Chip's corner. Chip, the keeper of stats. He says, well, the spell is broken. The curse is lifted. The ring is thrown into Mount Doom. SKC has its first win since September 18th. He's up over there, nerd. I see you, Lord of the Rings, geeking over there.
I love it. Anytime you can throw a Lord of the Rings reference in, I am all for it.
You were one sentence away from going.
It's so funny.
Chip says, as a caveat to all things, this win is one data point. There's a lot to unpack with the victory, but data over time will show the picture of where Sporting is going to go as a team. There's so many big-time stats from this game that catch my attention, so I'm trying to keep things brief-ish. In the past game, Sporting KC had excelled at a few stats, namely possession and the amount of passes into the final third. A lot of this translates to the back four passing the ball around while hesitating to take shots. This game against St. Louis saw SKC with only 51% of possession and 44 passes into the final third, which is tied for the lowest possession percentage for the season. But how does that break down? Let's look at the last 3 games. In the games against Dallas and LAFC, SKC had 672 and 618 touches from non-goalies, respectively. Also in those games, we had 44% and 48% of touches came from the defense. Against St. Louis, 555 total touches among non-goalies and only 40% of them coming from the defense. What does this all mean? Did your eyes glaze over as I'm reading this? Here's the gist. We're passing less but doing more with the ball. Our possessions were meaningful, and it wasn't just Shoppy, Shallowy, and Tommy running around like madmen trying to make something happen. Joveljic had 32 touches in 89 minutes, 6 shots, 4 on target, and 2 goals. His stats leveled out to 0.36 touches per minute in this match against St. Louis, which is an increase based on his last 2 matches, which were, at most, 0.23 touches per minute. We use Joveljic more and in more meaningful ways. Going back to the touch count for the game against St. Louis, SKC's attack only had 114 touches for the entire match, which isn't strongly dissimilar from the past, but the spread of those touches isn't all in the limited bucket as it had been in the last few games. For reference, against Dallas, Shoppy and Shallowy combined for 80% of the touches among forwards. In this game, we had 33% Shallowy, 29% Shoppy, and 28% Joveljic. The offense was more balanced and spread out. The attack went up with the middle more, with cutting passes and less crossing into a sea of defenders. In short, we saw a Sporting team which operated very differently from the Sporting of the past year. Funny enough, the last time SKC had a brace from our number 9 was the last game we won, with Pulido netting 2 against Colorado on September 18th of 2024. But we netted 2 goals off 1.2 XG and holding St. Louis to a clean sheet with a sensational post-camp performance. I'll take that any day of the week.
Thank you, Chip.
What a
awesome.
time, dude. I love breaking that shit down. My biggest takeaway right there, the balanced attack.
Mhm.
We've been wanting that, dude. We're like, God, we need to get Jovic involved, and they do.
Well, he's right. You could see they were trying a little bit in the first half, but it really clicked, especially in the last 20 minutes of that second half, where they were really to unlock a more direct attack. They played through the middle. It wasn't whipping in crosses and hoping to get ahead on the end of it. I mean, even the second goal, it came down the wing through Tommy, but it came by way of Tommy cutting it back to Manu, who was driving up the middle of the field and found space. So, and we talked about that first goal, Radia just looking up and sending it right to Manu directly through the heart of the St. Louis defense. So, if that's more of what we'll see from a Carey Zavagnin team, I am not opposed, because it was definitely a more dynamic, balanced, and lively attack, like you said. We talked about Jansen Miller's shush in the waning minutes a little bit. As you mentioned, he's from St. Louis, so it was so funny watching him do it, and then Klaus coming over and fighting him and such. We talked to him after the game a little bit, and we asked him what it meant to him to play against St. Louis and whatnot. And here's some audio of what Jansen Miller said about that moment.
It meant a lot. I mean, I can't really downplay that it didn't. First win for myself. Like doing it against St. Louis City. I mean, a year ago I was going to St. Louis City games, so it's just kind of crazy. I mean, I wanted this. Obviously, I want to win every game so bad. I'm this competitor, but this one was felt good, and I kind of let it out at the end. Which, I mean, I have a lot of respect for them, and I appreciate everything they've done. But I don't know, just the emotions of the game. You know, it meant a lot.
He went on.
From St. Louis.
He's born and raised in St. Louis. He, like he said, literally last year was going to St. Louis City games as a fan, cheering for St. And now he's shushing the fan base. And he went on to say later, he's like, Klaus and I cleared the air after the game. Like, it was all fine. But he also said, I kind of like being the villain. And
Good.
Sporting kind of needs a villain right now.
We love a heel, dude. We love a heel. And if Jansen can be our Bash brother out there, dude, if he can be our knuckle puck, so to speak, let's get going, man. Why am I full of more Mighty Ducks references? I have no idea.
I don't hate it. But what's funny is you could just feel the emotion, and it was like a weight lifted and this emotion exploded, because the game ends, final whistle goes, and then Jake Davis runs over, and he looks like he's hyping up the crowd, but he's doing it staring at in the corner at the St. Louis fans. And then half the St. Louis team runs over. They're swarming him. Postgame runs over. He's grabbing him and trying to yank Jake out of there. Tommy's in there trying to calm stuff down. And this man, Shoppy Suleimanov, runs across the field to get in the face of some St. Louis players, and he had to be pulled back. He and Rosero both had to be pulled back. And if there are two players on Sporting Kansas City I don't want to cross, it's probably Danny Rosero and Shoppy Suleimanov. So they scare me.
I get it too, dude. As a fan, it's kind of cool to have your players come over and defend you or something, right? But it's also Jake Davis is on his field celebrating his victory in the evening. He's well within his right to celebrate however he wants, because half of your St. Louis seats over there are normally Sporting seats. So it's I don't know, man. I'm all for it. I don't think things need to get physical between teams. I think Klaus could have come over and been like, okay, hey, stop being a tool.
Right. Get out.
Told him.
He didn't have to push him.
He didn't have to put hands on him. It never needs to come to that. But go use your words. Say some shit. Talk about his mama. Do whatever you want to do. You don't have to hit him or push him, whatever.
I just think for all the, quote, City Park West and the, Nebraska Furniture Market, which also was hilarious that Sporting posted after the game, don't forget to stop by Nebraska Furniture Mart and get your L-shaped couches on your way home.
What's that Fortnite dance?
The Fortnite loser dance. But it was also good just to see Shoppy. He's been with this team for 6 games?
7 games, and now he's trying to knife somebody?
He's out there trying to scrap. And this dude, he seems a little quiet in the locker room, but I don't know if he knows some secret Russian moves or something. I'm not trying to cross this dude and end up fighting him.
Look at this worried face. This worried face with a mustache. It's more worried than usual. Is it the double chin? I mean, Shuggy? Why did I say this? It's Shoppy. Choppy is on another level, dude. Like, I want him in my corner. Like, I want him as my if I'm a fighter, you're my hype man.
Right. And it was great because after the things got separated, but then there was another explosion of energy. Eric Tommy's going crazy. Jake Davis is going crazy.
They did it again.
Rosero and Postgame are literally jump hugging up and down. Like, you could just see that like a weight had been lifted.
Felt good.
And even Kerry Zavagnin, we have a video here because this was his first game as coach and whatnot. It was an emotional week for him. So I asked him after the game about just sort of his mental state and his emotions heading into this. So we have a clip right here.
I think the entire week for all of us, not just me, all of us has been an emotional one. We've had to, or I've had to compartmentalize a lot of my emotions and feelings because I knew what I needed to do and what we needed to do to get the result tonight. And so we've been focused just on that. The emotions for me are probably still inside somewhere. But to be able to do this against a rival, first time coaching, the commitment that the players gave, the confetti on the field that we've been missing for a little while, it's a magical night.
Magical, Kerry. Let him know. Let him know, Z.
I can't imagine. It's interesting to me that like he's acknowledging, because there's no way you can process it in a matter of 4 days. But when he's like, the emotions for me are probably still in there somewhere. Like, he probably hasn't even really had time to sit there and process really what has all happened and what it means to him, both positive and negative. Because as much as he's probably excited for this opportunity, I'm sure his friend lost his job. A mentor lost his job. So this isn't like, oh, great, celebratory everything. Like, I'm sure there's hurt there. And I'm sure Peter reached out to Kerry to congratulate him after. But I don't know. It was just interesting to hear him talk about that emotion. And there's one more clip from Kerry I want to show, because that emotion wasn't all just, excitedness and happiness. I asked him about what he saw with the fight or the skirmish at the end of the game. And he talked a little bit about sort of what the week was like leading up to that. So here's the second video from Kerry.
I know how badly that they wanted to do well. They're a great group of men. They just needed to trust each other a little bit more. And you saw the emotion as it's been building throughout the week that they wanted to do well for each other. And so that little skirmish at the end is nothing new to the week. A couple days ago, we had a few skirmishes in training. And that means that you're on the edge, and you're playing on the edge, and you're competing right on that edge. And so I didn't see what happened down there. It's no surprise. It's St. Louis and Kansas City. It seems to have happened over the course of history. So why not tonight? But I'm proud of the guys.
Absolute pride. Beaming. He looks like a proud papa.
He does.
Anyone watching on YouTube, you saw it.
What's interesting to me is how he was like, hey, we've had some of that in practice amongst ourselves this week. I think there's been so much, and he also talks about they trust each other. They just needed to trust each other and trust that they're going to do what they need to do. So one, I think players seem to get out of their heads. And two, maybe they did need to scrap a little bit in training this week. Maybe they just needed to get some of that angst and energy out. I mean, we see in NFL training camps, teammates fight occasionally. It happens when you're with somebody so long. It's like brothers fighting. So clearly they've had this like energy, this angst, and they let some of it out in training. But then it's like the same thing. You can fight with your brother, but then the moment someone else starts shit talking your brother, you're like, oh, no. I can do that, but you can't do that. So the second St. Louis starts doing it, doesn't matter who they were fighting in training, they're all suddenly all together. And it was just kind of cool to see Kerry talk about that. But
I love that. I also saw at the very end of the game, he went right up to Radia and Joveljic and like put his hands like on the nape of their neck, like was just like, which is not like the most manly thing to do. It's like actually a very like sensual, like loving. It's a loving thing to do, and like they shared a moment. He's like, you guys played your hearts out tonight, and I'm appreciative. Thank you for helping me prove this job here.
Yeah. Well, Joveljic after the game, he was asked about what was it like for him this week and everything, and he was like, yeah, it's hard. He goes, but let's be honest, I haven't been here that long. I've been here for 6 games. Like, yes, Peter brought me here and I'm appreciative for that. But he was like, there's people like Daniel who have been here for years, or Jake, or all these people. And he's like, this has been a really hard week for them. It's been hard for me, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's the same for me like it is for some of these other guys. So I'm sure
you'd have brought him in.
Right. So I'm sure part of that was Kerry being like, hey, you're still our guy and you're doing what we knew you could do. But yeah, that's really cool. The person who I think was most impressive to me in the post game and who I think is a future captain of this team, probably sooner rather than later, was Jake Davis. Because this dude is so poised, so well-spoken, so important in the midfield. He had a really interesting quote. Someone asked earlier in the week about why is it difficult for Sporting Kansas City to hold on to leads, especially 1-0 leads. And so we have a quote here. We'll play the audio from Jake Davis. I want you all to listen to what he says here about holding on to the lead.
When we got the 1-0 lead, I think confidence is the right word, but I think all of us were even more focused on making sure we don't let them in the game. And I said it in the press conference, when we have the 1-0 lead and we start to feel a little pressure, we have the result in our hands. That's when we run harder, we talk louder, we tackle harder, we do everything with more intensity, and we did that today. We had confidence and we played. We didn't shy away, we didn't let them have the ball, we had control of that game, and I think that's what I'm most proud of, and we can grow on this. You just asked, or someone asked what we can do from this game. We're going to grow on this. We have a lot more work to do, but this is the right step in the right direction.
Dude's going to bring a tear to my eye. Our little baby boy's growing up. Like, you hear him? That's a man.
It's crazy. I mean, this dude, he's what, 22, maybe 23 years old? I'm trying to find his age right now. But that sounds like a guy who's
23.
Captain. He's 23. That sounds like a captain of a club when he's talking about, like, we get that 1-0 lead, we run harder, we talk louder, we play faster.
He's intense.
You can hear the emotion in his voice, and he's very poised and well-spoken. And I think that energy of running up to being willing to run to the other fans and hype it up. Like, I love Daniel, but Daniel doesn't have that, like, grit in the same way, that edge to him. Jake has that, and I kind of like that in a potential captain. I'm not saying he should be the captain right now, but, like, if you were to tell me by the end of the year there was a couple of games where Jake Davis ended up wearing the captain's armband, I'm not surprised.
Sure. Why not?
So,
I mean, just hearing him talk like that, man, just he's going the right direction. I'm just so freaking, like, happy he's out there, dude, and people are happy to see him out there, because, like, it wouldn't have been like that a couple years ago. People would have been like, damn, we got Jake Davis in the lineup again, man. God, we got to go with the SKC2 players or something. It ain't even like that anymore. The dude's earned his freaking way.
Yeah. There's one more quote I want to play from Jake. Before this, he'd already talked about how hard it was for him and how much Peter meant to him. He was like, Peter made me better, not just as a player, but as a person. Saw me through the academy, through the second team, through the first team, etc. But then I asked him what it's like and what it meant playing for Kerry in Kerry's first game as manager. So here's what Jake had to say about Kerry Zavagnin.
I'm so happy for him. Like, I just talked about how Peter has been a part of my whole soccer career, but Kerry's been there too. And to have Kerry as head coach, especially a guy being at this club for so long, in terms of academy, second team, and now, I was devoted and I was bought in to do whatever he wanted us to do in this game. And I think what won us this game today is everyone was bought in. And I think all the guys are so happy for him. And we're going to continue that next week. It's about trust and trusting each other, like I said. And so Kerry, we all trust Kerry, and he's a really good coach. Even though he's been assistant for the last long time, 17 years, he knows how to be a head coach. And it showed this week. And so I'm so happy we got the win for our team and for him.
He knows how to be a head coach. I dig it. And who's playing Sean Paul? What is going on?
Okay. Daniel Shallowy is in charge of the music, and he said he just found a random playlist on Spotify that's just called Celebration. And it's
random
all like
playlist
2009 to 2011 like dance music.
Spotify's getting pretty bad with their randomness of their playlist. I'm like, I don't think you're putting any thought into this at all.
It was all like Sean Paul, Kesha, LMFAO. I was like, what are we doing? Like, we can't, like, it's like straight 2010, like club
Spotify
pop.
or Apple Music? What do you do?
I do Apple Music.
You do Apple Music? Okay, tell me why, sir.
Well, first off, Apple Music has higher quality audio than...
You're right. It sounds better.
It's like people who are on Spotify come listen to Apple Music and suddenly they're like, I've never heard this part of the song before.
I got a free trial with Apple Music and I did it. Yeah.
It's high fidelity, and it's just easier for me. I'm part of the Apple ecosystem. I also get a student discount still on Apple Music, so it's like $5 a month for me. So
see, but Spotify's free for me because we got it in like a student Hulu package. Okay. So we don't pay for either. We don't pay for Hulu or we don't pay for Spotify. So
yeah, it's one. So I've just been Apple Music for a while, so I'm committed now. But I'm kind of an audiophile, so that higher fidelity audio does mean something to me on Apple.
I thought about it, but only why can't two people listen? Why do you got to pay for two people to listen?
You can get a family plan.
That's more money.
A little bit, but it's cheaper than two individual.
I know. You know how many times I got to be like, hey, I can't listen to music in the shower because Marissa's about to leave to go listen to music in her car, you know? Or like she'll get on like Amazon and listen to ads, you know?
Yeah.
This is what it is.
That's funny. Sorry. But anyway, Jake, every time I heard him talk, I have like 5 minutes of him talking, and it's all like that. You can just hear the confidence, the poise. When he's like, I'm bought into Kerry, I was instantly bought in. I'll do whatever he needs me to do. Everybody, we're trusting each other. It just, that to me sounds like a captain. So I'm all in on the Jake Davis feature captain train. The one other thing that I wanted to say about this game is, before we actually got to start talking to the players in the locker room after the game, Mike Gillig, it was a really cool moment. They didn't let us take video or photos or whatnot, partially because half the team was just standing there in their underwear. But Mike Gillig had really, really great words to say about Kerry Zbagnon and how much he's meant to the club. And they gave Kerry a game ball for his first win, and the whole team, just the vibe of that locker room. They jumped around him. They hugged him. Like, I have not seen that sort of like celebratory vibe in months. Like before even the last wins that we saw at the end of last year, this felt different. So it's anecdotal. It's one game. Like Jake said, this is one step. We have many more to take, but yeah, it was a fun night for sure.
And now you get to look forward to a Sunday matinee game against Portland Timbers. Can I ask you something? Geez, Portland's bad. We're catching teams at bad times. I love this. I hope we can play the Galaxy soon because they're worse than us. Can we? Do you subscribe to Sporting KC's calendar, like in your Apple calendar?
I do not.
You don't?
I don't.
What do you do to get all the games like on your calendar?
I don't. I just look up the week before. I'm like, okay, when is the game this week and what time?
So you don't put it on your iCal at all?
No.
Okay.
Which is weird because I
don't dip into that.
I put almost everything else on my iCal, so I don't know why I don't do that. But.
Okay. Well, I just noticed that my Sporting KC games are just gone. They were on my calendar, now they're not. And I'm like, do we not have a game next week? I was very confused, so I need to go resubscribe or something.
They were probably tied to, Peter Vermes at Sporting KC.
Peter left. Wiped it out. Dude, he's the anchor bean. The timelines, he's pruned. It's not good, dude. It prunes everything that goes with him. Oh, shit, I got to resubscribe.
But Portland, they're coming to town. They played Austin to a 0-0 draw in Austin last week. They're not. They're fine. They're in fifth place. I said they're bad. I was mostly joking because I don't like Portland. They don't score a ton. They've only scored 9 goals on the season. We've only scored 8, but we know how bad we are. And they've allowed 8 goals, so they only have a +1 goal differential. So even though they're sitting in fifth place right now, they're okay. They're not great. So I think this is a real opportunity for Sporting to grab 3 more points. And if you get 2 wins in a row, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to do it because, like I told people before this game, I have no objective reason really to pick Sporting over St. Louis. But I told people, but you don't know what's going to happen because of all the emotion. And so we thought, if Sporting can build on what they did this week and be more direct and have a more balanced attack, like Chip said, then they might be able to mess around and win some games here and there.
Yeah, well, we're looking at it's 1:15, and hope it's looking to be decent weather because, like, in the middle of the day like that, could be a nice spring day.
It's going to be warmer than it was for sure this last game, based on everything we're seeing.
You're looking. Sunday the high is 85. Everybody, tank top season, girls. Let's get it.
Yeah. The thing that I'm very curious to see is not just are they more direct, but Chip pointed this out. Possession was nearly equal at the end of this game, which is interesting because St. Louis does not want the ball. St. Louis is a very counter-attacking team, so Sporting was able to sort of shift, and now it probably got a little unbalanced at the very end after we went up, but Sporting was able to give St. Louis the ball more, especially in the second half, than St. Louis typically wants. They want to counter with the ball. And Sporting, throughout history, throughout Peter's whole tenure, has been a very possession-oriented team. And this season has been winning possession, but like Chip said, kind of meaningless possession. So this is the first game where it's like, oh, you don't want the ball? Well, we're going to give it to you and make you do something with it. And wouldn't you know it, look, we win 2-0 and it's a clean sheet. So maybe that's a little bit of Carey magic.
Take it, dude. Oh my God. It reminds me of remember the water boy where he's looking to give that guy the ball and he just hands it to him and runs him down to just drop kick his ass. That was us. Here, take the ball. No, I don't want the ball.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Carey said this in the locker room to the guys, similar to what Jake said. He's like, look, there's a lot more to go. There's 27 games left. It's a long season. We're going to get back to work for Portland, but enjoy this win because you deserved it. And I think the fans we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know who's going to be the next head coach. We don't know who's going to be the next chief soccer officer. We don't know about signings. We know we have 275,000 more GAM than we did a week ago because they sold an international roster spot, but
that's right.
Sit there and enjoy another victory over St. Louis City. St. Louis cannot beat Sporting Kansas City when it matters. They have not won at Children's Mercy Park, regardless of what they call it. So this was a good week.
That's insane to me. That's insane to just to say that it's City Park West or whatever. Like, you have to win in that stadium. It's why they say Allen Fieldhouse West when they go to K-State. It's like, because they win there. Like, it'd be asinine to say otherwise.
Yeah, that's why USC calls the Rose Bowl their second home, because they've won more Rose Bowls than anybody else. They've won more Rose Bowls than UCLA, and they play in the damn Rose Bowl for their home games. So
this will not be a rivalry until they can beat us at our place, because we beat them at their place.
Yeah,
right?
When it counts in the playoffs.
When it mattered most, absolutely.
And Dembe decided to come alive and shoot rockets.
He decided to just be Thanos. Fine, I'll do it myself. But this is cool. And this rivalry, man, it's not manufactured. It's not a Minnesota thing. It's not an early Chicago thing. Houston rivalries, Colorado. It's in our backyard. It's next door. And it goes back to Cardinals and Royals too. There's a lot here, and I'm eating it up. I'm not trying to fight anybody. I'm not trying to do that, but I am down to talk some shit.
Yeah, no, it is fun. So I'm glad it exists. It's fun to go to games in St. Louis. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to the next game in St. Louis this year or not, but
you know what month that is?
It's in May, isn't it?
Is it? Okay.
I think it's coming up, if I remember correctly. Oh, it's not that far away.
Fair enough.
Look up the schedule here.
You got to subscribe.
May 14th. Oh. Yeah, it's coming up pretty.
Oh, it's a Wednesday, huh? A little Wednesday game.
That's why it's going to be hard getting down to St. Louis. I mean, you can make a day trip, but
sure,
it's still tough. I've done that. I've gone to a game in St. Louis that kicked off at 7:30 and didn't stay the night and drove back here that same night. It's possible, but it sucks. I can get back to almost 2 a.m, 3 a.m. So it was not fun. But May 14th in St. Louis. I think that's the only other time we play them this year. So there you go. It's coming up. If you haven't been down there, it is a fun place to see a game. The atmosphere.
Home and home, dude. That's quick turnaround to just play them again like that next month. That's cool. Not even time to be different teams later in the year. It will be similar teams.
Well, what's crazy is we played St. Louis this last week, and we play Portland this upcoming week, and then we play Portland again in Portland on May 10th, and then 4 days later, St. Louis in St. Louis on May 14th. So we're just getting these two series out of the way in the first couple months of the season.
I mean, bro, isn't that we might as well just go to Backlash 3 days earlier and then
and just stay in. But that means we have to stay in St. Louis, and who wants to do that?
There's some decent food spots I could show you, but I had some pretty sweet vegan pizza there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, there are parts of St. Louis I'm sure that are fine. I prefer Kansas City. So
sure, absolutely.
But next week, Portland, big game. We'll see. Sporting, if they can ride this momentum, then there's a chance they can do something, and then suddenly you're getting closer to to where you want to be, or where we thought they'd be before the season, which is flirting with the playoff spot. So, but you got anything else you want to say to our good listeners?
I don't think so, man. That covers it.
It was a fun week. Hopefully we get more of these. It's so much more fun to talk about a win, especially over St. Louis, than it is trying to figure out what's going wrong. shout out to Kerry Zavagnin and the staff. What a game plan they put together. What a week to contain all those emotions and motivate this team. Shout out to Jake Davis. Shout out to Jansen Miller. I mean, my guy, just shushing the crowd. So thank you all for listening. We hope you had as much fun as we did. Make sure you leave us that 5-star rating and review. Let us know how you celebrated getting this win over St. Louis. You can find us on socials at NoOtherPod, at Dan Kooser, at JCMac03. You can shoot us an email, nootherpod@gmail.com, or you can check us out on YouTube, KCSN Soccer, or via the Kansas KC Sports Network app. But until next time, he's Dan. I'm Jimmy. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
My spirit animal is Jansen Miller.